What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to PlayStation Generation. My name is Matt, and I'll be your host for today's events. I'm joined, as always, by the man himself, Mr. Court Lalonde. What's up, Court?
Yeah, now you're quiet. Your mic did it again, but I love you.
My mic did it again.
Yeah, you're quiet again. It hates you.
It does hate me. Here, let's bump me up a little. Turn my mic up. There we
Mic
go. How's
check.
that?
Mic check. 1 2 1
One, two,
2.
1, 2.
And
Mic
and to
check.
people like listening, we were checking his mic like 3 or 4 times before the show even started,
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It just keeps resetting itself for whatever reason. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to give this thing a good old factory reset before next week's show because I don't know what is wrong, Court. But how are you on this lovely long weekend?
I had a great Easter. I went and saw Ghostbusters. Look at my mic. It's like changing volume anytime I change it.
There you
I
go.
had a great Easter. I went and checked out Ghostbusters, the new one. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I know critics, whatever, but I truly think this is going to sound whatever. You guys make fun of my age all the time. I don't think it was made. It's made to try and get a new audience, but the amount of things that were fan service to the people that love the franchise, like they called back so many of the characters from New York City and they put them into this, and it's just. I felt it was the typical 80s movie. You're only in it for like an hour and a half. They give you everything you know to know, and it's not about how, insightful the script is. It's just a fun movie. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I walked away going, "This is a good movie." I don't know. I'm tired of having to think too much in movies, gonna be honest.
It's just a romp with some ghosts and some folks, and
Yeah.
like again, pulling back a bunch of characters that you know and love. I'm sure that's always fun.
Yeah. It sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. I think it was a homage to his father, Ivan Reitman. I thought they did a great job. I thought it was a good movie. And I played video games this weekend too. I did that.
There you go. There was video games played on this long weekend. Yeah, similarly saw some fam. Um, the baby has let us sleep for like 4 to 5 hours at a time, multiple nights in a row. So I feel like a whole new man.
A
I
whole
feel like
new world.
a whole new world. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Rice is out this week because he is taking care of his little one, but he'll be back next week post haste. Of course, I gotta ask Court because it's a question that's been burning in my mind. It's a thought that I've had, and I just need to know what have you been playing that's not the Sour Blade demo? Because we'll kick things off with that in a little bit. Aside from that, what have you been up to? I feel like there's no other game that like you that's come out recently that may have been taking literally all of your time.
Well, I want to start off by apologizing to my Helldivers team.
Me.
I have
No.
not touched that game since MLB The Show released, and it's pretty much I haven't been playing as much video games as I did in the past.
Mhm.
We will talk about the other game we both have been playing. We tried that out over the weekend, but yeah, I've been playing MLB The Show. It's got its hooks back in me, but I'm doing something different this year. I'm not grinding it like I did before. Um, Sorry, somehow my volume just keeps changing. I just play it and I'm having a good time with it. I only play about an hour a day and nothing else. There's nothing else that I change about it. There's nothing else I do. I don't
Mhm.
play 4 or 5 hours like I did before. Like I played it for a bit today. I won't touch it again, but I'm having a good time watching some baseball. I'm liking the game. What can I say? I dropped my review on it. I really like the game. It's a good game.
Mhm. As long as you like it, dude. As long as you're enjoying it, that's totally fine with me. Um, do I believe you're not going to play it again today? No, but I'm gonna let you
I can't.
believe
My
that.
kid's home, dude. So other part here is because it's Easter, my daughter is home from school. So I have
Mhm.
been working. I've gone grocery shopping. After this, I'm going to be taking my daughter for a scooter ride, coming back, doing a couple of conference calls. Like, I ain't playing video games today.
You
Maybe
got to
tomorrow.
ride. Let's
Maybe tonight.
scooter ride. That sounds awesome.
Scooter ride.
I don't trust myself with scooters anymore. I broke my
Scooter
arm on one
Braun.
once. Yeah, that's a man
Yeah.
that does stuff and kind of sucks. But anyways, um, yeah. As for myself, I finished up Rebirth. Loved it. That like the final couple chapters of that game are just incredible. That
Take your
like
word for it.
Skill Up dropped a review that I urge people to watch if you've played and finished the game. It is incredibly spoiler heavy. It's almost an hour long, but like that review is just one of my favorite pieces of content.
You really
Period.
like him, period. Like you
I
you
do.
you put me towards 2 of his reviews, and I found him to be too uh poopy pants all the time. So it's like I'm done with this guy.
No, he loved the game and like the stuff that like the way that he talks about it and even like the parts that bothered me as well. It's just he's so eloquent in the way that he speaks. He hits all the points that I think he does it well. An hour flew by. I could not believe that that review was an hour long. I urge people to go check it out because it's just incredible. But I loved it. I'm already excited for what I'm sure will be called Reunion. That word was dropped a lot through the course of Rebirth. I'm sure the third part will be called Reunion. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Do we get to see NSYNC and Backstreet Boys? That'd be nice.
Obviously. Yeah. That's actually how you end up taking down Sephiroth.
Well, isn't that one Final? What was that Final Fantasy that was pretty much a boy band riding a car around?
Final Fantasy 15, which was awesome, and his way too hated. But that game's great.
I actually like that one more.
15 was great
than 16.
That's a take.
I don't care. I was going to put out a tweet today saying how much I like Final Fantasy because it is April Fool's. I was like, yeah, might as well go with it.
Right, and then I would just screen cap it, change the date, and then use it against you until the end of time.
As I said to you today, today is the day I stay away from social media because social media is a cesspool. Today is the biggest cesspool beyond cesspools.
Yeah, there's just a lot of lies and slander and stuff going on, but it is what it is. And I finally hopped into Dragon's Dogma 2, a game that I FOMO'd into. Steve and everybody else kept talking about how incredible that game was. I knew that it was probably not going to be a game for me, but I was like, you know what? Microplay had some sweet trade offers, so I went to trade some stuff and picked it up. I spent 8 hours playing it the first day. The baby was lots of us sleeping.
I was gonna say your baby was just sleeping on you.
Yep. And then I spent the next 4 hours after that. The first 8 hours was me running around the wilds, fighting stuff, exploring. I found a giant rock totem monster on the top of a mountain that I don't know if I was supposed to get up there yet, but I took him out, thieving around. I fought a griffin for the first time. It threw me into the water and I died, which was a whole mood. But that game is really cool. I'm hearing that a lot of people seem to find the first 10 to 15 hours to be the most kind of magical, and then as you get further in, I hear interests either wane or you either go all in or you back out at that point. So I'm curious as I get there because my first 8 hours was all monster fighting. This game reminds me a lot of Monster Hunter mixed with Elden Ring. It's Elden Ring's open world design. There's something around every corner. There's something to fight around every corner. There's new mysteries to find.
What's the combat style? Is it like a Souls?
Monster Hunter. No, it's much more Monster Hunter than it is Souls-like. Where the fights can be difficult, but you're not fighting things that parry you or use ridiculous moves and warp around the thing. You're fighting monsters. They're beasts. It's you're going up against forces of nature. When you come across a troll for the first time or a cyclops, that thing is just massive. It's just swinging around. It's raging all over the place. It's not standing there ready to counter you and waiting for the right.
Somebody did. I saw the clip. Somebody did a one-shot kill on these cyclops, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. You're fighting just beasts. So it's a complete. I like this a lot more than I would a Souls-like because you can be creative with what you're doing. As a thief, I'll hop on them, climb up them, stab them in the eye a bit, and then I have this explosive that I'll plant into them. Hop off, blow the explosive up so it detonates in their face, and they start staggering. Toss a lasso with their feet, knock it over, and then I get on it and beat the crap out of it. It's not a waiting for the right parry moment. It's not trying to dodge around it constantly. It's just these are just forces of nature, and you have to try and figure it out. Steve in the chat, big Shadow of the Colossus vibes. I agree. When you're fighting these,
I've never played Shadow of the Colossus.
I did for the first time recently. It's overhyped.
I can understand. Really? I can understand why.
Like
it then. If you don't like it, I'll like it. Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I thought some parts were good, some parts were not. But I think it's just because it's an older game, and sometimes that comes across. But
is it a lot like Is it got Witcher type combat, or is it?
I would say it's closer to Witcher than it is to an Elden Ring. It's much it's arcade.
So I might like this game.
You need to. The thing is, though, is that you, in the space that I know you're in, this game actively pushes back against you and will slow your progress on purpose. So there will be some parts where it's just I first spent the first 8 hours on the road adventuring around, beating stuff up, and the next 4 hours it was all political intrigue in the city where I was running around back and forth doing stuff. There were parts where I was following around this dude who was maybe lying about being homeless and being a beggar, but he might have been screwing around. And the game will literally just make you stand there and wait for 5 minutes as he goes inside, and then you have to wait for him to come back out. 5 real world minutes it doesn't really respect your time. So like if you have to be like
Ooh.
in for the adventure. That's part of the charm of what this game is you have to, and again, like fast travel is incredibly expensive. Like you do get the resources and you are able to buy them, but like you have to be prepared to sometimes run for 10 to 15 real life minutes to get to your next objective, just to then have to run all the way back. So if you're not in for the entire journey, it's not a game that will like actively respect your time. And as I understand, it only gets
So it's not a
more
Dragon
like
Age.
that. I've never played a Dragon Age.
So Dragon Age, I love. I love Dragon Age, but I'm afraid to hop into Dragon's Dogma because one, what you talked about, respecting your time, that's almost like unsold me no matter what. Because
I
of the
know.
game, that's the one thing I liked about Jesus, my brain is just not working today. But the game we all just reviewed, Rise of the
Rise of
Ronin.
the Ronin.
Steve in the chat just platinum. Well done, Steve. I felt that game respected my time. I felt dragged out in chapter 2, but it kicked back up in chapter 3. But I respected my time. If you tell me Dragon's Dogma isn't, and we're gonna have to have Stellar Blade soon, I'm just like, I don't got time for this. And I still gotta play Blair, not Blair Witch. Oh my god, Alan Wake 2.
Well, that like, I'd say Alan Wake 2 is a much better use of your time, to be honest, and what I think you'll like. I think that this game, like, again, you have to be in for the adventure. Like you have to be in for the back and forth, for like the trying to figure out where you go to do certain things. Like you have to be in. I'm in the mood. I'm in the like in the mood for that kind of game right now. So I think that's why it's aligning with me right now. Okay. I'm curious to see as I get further in. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm curious to see as I dive in deeper what's going to happen. But I had a funny moment yesterday, Court, where I was playing Dragon's Dogma and I put it down and I think I was like, okay, I think I saved. I'm in the city. I'm going to put my PS5 into rest mode. Okay. Earlier on in the day, I had used my Steam Deck to connect to my PS5. I was playing a little bit. Then I was feeding the baby. I was just, hanging around playing with near her. Fast forward to later on in the day. Okay. The Steam Deck can run multiple applications. It's like Xbox's Quick Resume. You can have multiple things running at the same time. I forgot that I had the remote play on and I was playing another game. And I was like hearing sounds and stuff. I'm like, this is weird. I finished playing the other game after about half an hour, came back to like exited the game and it loaded me directly in to the remote play client, where the entire time that I was playing the other game, that was registering my inputs and I was doing stuff in Dragon's Dogma without realizing it. So when I went back into the game, I'm standing in the city in a completely different place that I had left, standing like on a bunch of dead bodies on the ground, about to use.
You were a murderer.
About to use a wake stone, which like revives you or somebody else, but they're not that easy to get and they're rare. Like literally, if I had pressed X one more time, I would have used that thing on a random body. I don't know if I killed those people. I don't know if I missed something.
Hold on. I think it's safe to say you murdered those people.
But like everybody else around me had not like run away. So like I don't know. I felt like I just woke up from like a fugue state. I was like, what happened? And like again, I don't know definitively when the last time I saved was. So I was like, I don't know if I can just reload my save because I don't want to lose like hours worth of progress. So I just continued on. I don't know what I did. We'll find out if there's any repercussions for this later. But I was like, man, oh man, that was not what I was expecting.
I say you're a murderer. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Matt is Moon Knight confirmed, Steve. That is exactly what I felt like. I felt like I just
you know what,
personalities.
Steve, we needed that in the chat because that's perfect. That does describe exactly what you did. You just murdered a bunch of people, and you're like, I didn't do it. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, it's just like I just switched personalities, and that's where I was at. But obviously,
what's your alter ego called?
I don't know. I got to think about it.
All right, it's got to be something emo-ish.
Mort Mamont.
Well, Mort is that. I think it's just Mort. There you go.
I know. But without further ado, Court, obviously there is a lot of chatter, a lot of hubbub because the Stellar Blade demo officially came out this time on Friday.
For real,
you and I both played it over the weekend. And let's talk a little bit about it because we both have thoughts and feelings, but we also have a couple of questions. So I'm going to bring in feelings. Yes, you did. No wonder you're so chipper today. Nagachaka writes in saying, what was your favorite thing about the Stellar Blade demo and has it convinced you to play the game on day one? Court, where are you at with the Stellar Blade demo?
There is a difficulty setting.
That was a very fast yes.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely gonna be playing it. I understand people's fascination with Souls games and stuff like that. And so originally I hadn't played this, and this was one of the ones when I originally told Matt that I wanted to play it. His initial reaction was like, "Are you sure?" And we both said, he's like, "Well, there's going to be a demo for it, so that's perfect for you to like try it out and see if this is a game for you." Especially because you're like, "I heard the combat's hard." The
Mhm,
good news is there's a story mode.
mhm.
I can play it. It reminds me of a lot of how Jedi does it, where they're just like, "Hey, you can play it, you're gonna get your ass kicked mode, or you can play it on story mode and have whatever's going on." And I did change back and forth. Yes, when I play it on I'm gonna die mode, pretty much, I die a lot. Like even at the beginning of the tutorial, I don't even make it through
Yep.
that pretty much. So but when I put it on story mode, I'm able to easily do the combat and pretty much focus on getting through the game. I just don't have time to parry and do all that. And you know what? I probably don't have the skill anymore. I don't have the reaction times. I don't got it in me. I just don't care. If the game wants to
Mhm.
do that, that's their prerogative, but they have a story mode. My only issue was, and I was telling Matt this before we started, I was starting my second run of the demo. Also, I give it to them. I really actually appreciate lately PlayStation and other game developers doing demos of their game and having progression carryover. They
Mhm.
did that all with I truly appreciate that, especially Final Fantasy. I thought that was pretty amazing, and Stellar Blade's doing the same. So I suggest if you think you're going to get this game, go out and play the demo because your progression carries over.
Mhm.
But my wife walked in as soon as I was the pod lands in Eve. Yeah, Eve.
Mhm.
She comes out of the pod naked. And then she gets her armor, and my wife was like, "What are you playing?" I was like, "Well, it's the game Stellar Blade. We're gonna talk about it on the show." She's like, "Why are you playing that game?" I was like, "Well, blah," and then I was like, "Well, it's this new game that's coming to PlayStation." She's like, "But why is it porn?" And I'm like, it's it's not porn, honey." She's like, "She's not wearing clothes." I was like, "But she will be." And then she gets her armor on and you go through the tutorial section and then I climb a ladder and my wife again happens to walk by there. She's like, I'm like, you know what? You're not wrong. So I will say it has far too much not left for the imagination about the character Eve. I just I'll say this as a dad, as a parent. Yeah, I think it goes a little too far. I'm not gonna lie. The amount of jokes I put it out there. Yes, I'm playing the game for the story. I'm sorry, it's a bit much, but the gameplay's great. The story so far is fun. Combat's good. I had a good time. I love the fact that there is a parry system, but I feel it's a lot more forgiving than say Rise of the Ronin or any of these other games. You don't have to be perfect, and you can do it. So I really do appreciate it. And the game looks good.
Mhm. I'm before I give my take, I'm gonna bring Steve in because he has a question specifically for
You also
you.
have a mouse cursor that's driving me insane.
Where?
It's right on the screen. Oh, that's me. Oh my god.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
there's nothing on the screen, my dude.
yeah, yeah.
Steve writes in with a question for Court, saying, "Hi, PlayStation generation, long time, first time. What did everyone think about Stellar Blade? Court gave his thoughts. I'll give mine momentarily. I know Court specifically played it for the plot. Cue laughter.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like the game
So
is yeah.
knowing he's there for the story and the story only, I want to know where does Court think Eve's narrative will go? So Steve is asking you to plot out Eve's narrative. What does the story need to do for you to buy in and be in for the ride? Because that's what you're playing it for. The story. The story.
Honestly, I don't think I've played enough of this game to even have a grasp. I felt like I was I joked. I called my brother because he played it as well. And I asked him, I was like, is this like a king? Like, is there more? Is there more lore to this? He's like, no, there's not. There's like what you've played so far because I am more confused on even my reasoning for giving a crap of killing these little worm thingies that are coming out of the sand. Like, so far, I put it on story mode. I think story mode is now should just be called baby mode, and we'll just get over it. Like
It's
I
fine.
think I think Bethesda does a lot better job. Machine Games does a lot better job of really telling you what difficulty modes are. Um, it says story mode, but I don't think there's much story to the game so
But
far.
but so far we know that there's something going on. Humanity fell. Eva's in like the last
She's in some pod. I
bastion of
felt like I was in
humanity.
Hell
Right.
Divers for a second.
Comes in, She comes in onto the planet. That was like we find out
But then
that
she's
it's
got
like the
that friend.
last city. Yeah. So they team up for whatever reason, and then what
Thank you.
happens
Hold on,
next?
hold on. For whatever reasons, there's no
Yeah,
reason.
he helps her. We don't know yet why. We don't know yet why. But I want to know. I wonder where do you think the story is going? Are
I
we
have
going to
no
fight
clue.
God? Are we going
No
to
clue.
grow into the depths of the earth and fight a
No, we're just gonna
lava
keep
magma
fighting
monster?
monsters over and over again until we're like,
Oh, why?
I have no clue. I don't know why.
Well, then this playing it for the story seems to fall away a little bit under more
Well, I told you. I
close
just told you.
observation.
Story mode is the easy mode. That's why I picked it.
I know. But I'm with you. I liked the demo. I found it took me a little bit to get into the groove of it because I was expecting Stellar Blade to be closer to a Devil May Cry or a Nier. I was expecting
Same.
faster, more fluid combat. I was expecting a more rapid pace. I was expecting you to be kind of like, flying through these enemies. With boss fights, sure, that would be bigger and that would require you to, dig in a little bit more. But I was expecting a faster pace. And I think that's kind of where my mental block came in for the first half of the demo, probably, is because I kept trying to play it as like a Devil May Cry, and it is more closer to, I would say, like a Sekiro or Souls, like in terms of its combat. It is not that slow and that heavy and
Oh,
that
so you're not playing
necessarily.
it on. You're playing it on hard mode.
I'm playing it on normal.
Yeah, yeah.
At least thus far. I'm terrible at those games. That final boss took me like 3 or 4 tries before I took it down. So
I
like
didn't take the boss down.
I don't know how long I'm going to continue on in normal mode before I just get frustrated. But I've started to see what the game was trying to do as I got more skill points and started to take a look at that skill tree, because a lot of the things that I wanted in terms of like being able to hit faster after a parry or after a dodge, like there's things in the skill tree that I think will bring this game to a faster point.
You
Eve
think we're
from
gonna
the
have like 10, 15 hit combos?
I think we're going to get there if that's the way you end up specing the character. I think what we have right now is, and from what we could glean from the story, Eve seems to be like a new operative or whatever. Like she
Well,
seems like
operative of what? See. This is my
I don't
thing.
know exactly yet. I
I
don't
don't
know,
even
but
understand her reasoning for anything, or who like when the
yeah,
pod lands, and I'm like,
monster's bad.
why?
Monster's bad. Eve good. Is Eve a
Like
robot?
they
I
have
don't
these
know. I might
spaceships
not be
going
convinced.
on, and like all the fighting's in the spaceship, and the next thing you know, I'm on a planet. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
man.
I watch anime and I still don't know what's going on in this thing
Okay,
yet. But
thank you.
like,
Okay, I didn't want to feel like I'm an
yeah,
idiot.
no. Well, I mean, besides that,
Yeah.
I feel like what I saw made me more curious than I think I was before. But at the same time, I'm left with a little more reservation because the combat wasn't what I was expecting, and I need more time with it to see if I will align with the way that the game wants you to play it or not. So I'm kind of like, I'm curious, I'm interested, because I think like the visuals were great, the like the spectacle, the almost like Uncharted set pieces were very much there, especially in the first little bit. Buildings coming down, explosions going off. There
Yeah,
was
except for the things were landing on me, and maybe it was the demo, and it's not finished thing. I wasn't taking any damage. Like there's like
that
pieces just
those red
literally landing on me. I just keep walking right through them.
that may be the mode that you were playing on, because I was getting hit when I was
Oh,
doing
okay,
that like
yeah.
run up
So
the
on
thing.
story
Yeah.
mode, you can when everything is coming down when you're going up that hill, you
Yeah.
can just get hit by all of it.
No, I was getting like I was losing health like
Okay.
when I was going up
I
there.
was not.
So like in terms of like the spectacle, like the story again, like I don't know what it is yet, so I can't speak to that definitively. But I feel like the back half of the
I don't
demo,
even know
and
what the
as
beginning of the story is.
no, Lord knows. Um, but and especially in that boss encounter, I think that's when it started to click. So I think I need more time with it. I see what the game's trying to do. I think it really will end up being that mix of like Nier and Neo. And I was expecting it to be more Nier than Neo, and I really do think it's going to end up being more Soulsborne than not.
Now,
Um,
my last question is, do you think it was smart to give it a demo?
100%, because largely speaking, a lot of the praise that I've seen both on Twitter and on Reddit is very positive towards the demo. I think people needed to get their hands on it, because I don't think a lot of people really knew how this game would feel to play. And a lot of these action games, that is always the kind of defining factor. Shift Up is as a developer, is not one that has done a lot. They have a couple successful mobile games, but this is their first proper giant outing when it comes to this kind of game. So people knew Eve, obviously, because that's what we've seen a lot of the trailers. They saw the flashiness, but I think people needed to get their hands on it. And I see a lot of people talking both on Reddit and on X saying that this game is now a day one for them when previously they were waiting for reviews or waiting to see what it was.
And it's not coming out around a lot of things, which is good for it.
No, it's very that is a very empty period of time right now. So I'm curious to see more of it. The game went up on my hype meter. I'm excited.
I'm sure you
get my
want to
hands
see
on
more of it.
I actually am playing it for the story, though. I'm the kind of person that watched 4 hours worth of Kingdom Hearts lore deep dives. Okay, I'm actually there
So
for the story.
one of these you're gonna have to explain, because I like Kingdom Hearts, but man, it's just so confusing.
Do you have time for a 6-hour podcast today? Because that's what this is going to
No, I
be.
do not have time for that. Because like that game, my daughter really liked. We played that. We finished Kingdom Hearts 3 together. She loved that game.
I love its absurdity, but to really get it, you need mobile games, you need rhythm games, you need games that were on DS, you need games that were on PSP. Okay. It's like a 20-year thing spread off across like every console imaginable. We don't have the time today, Court. But that's our thoughts on Stellar Blade. We're both excited for more. And you know, I'm sure we'll be talking about it more as we get closer to launch. Let's talk about some news, my friend, because we have some news to talk about before we obviously have some wonderful reader mail.
I also got Visions of Mana.
Visions of Mana.
It's literally on the thumbnail. I did. Yeah, sorry. So you know me, April Fool's joke here. Like, this is definitely one. You know, I'm the big, Square Enix fanboy here. But thanks to Console Creatures, when I was at PAX East, I got to play Visions of Mana. I think my preview, I was very honest about it. I haven't played a Mana game literally since the Super Nintendo. But I'll safe to say this. I actually really enjoyed my time with this. I felt the combat was...
What did you play? Did you play like some of the beginning? Was it like
I played two separate demos. I played...
Okay.
I'm going to have to... Because I had to write things down. What you're seeing is what I played, to be honest. But there's two separate demos that we got to play. One of them, I actually went a little too far, and I got tapped on the shoulder, and I had to stop what I was doing. So you play two separate sections of it. One of them, they let us get into a boss fight. And then one of them, they pretty much is just testing out the open world, which is Fallow Step, that's the open world. That's the mountain range, the green and the flowers and such, where you have your team and you're just going around. Now, Mount Gala is where I have to be in a boss fight, and that's where you're going to see me using my elementals and so on and so forth. But and I've got to get the names of these characters because I didn't know any of these people. It was funny when we were doing this. They were like, "Oh, you're going to be so familiar with all these characters," and I was like, "Yeah, no, I won't be." But so you're Val, and then you have all your childhood friends come along you, and you go out to, beat these other bad guys. I don't really know much about the story, I'm not going to lie, but I found the game to be pretty simple to play. I did like the fact that you could switch between characters very easily. You're just pressing left on the D-pad on the PS5, which was also interesting. This game was shown in Xbox Direct, yet for when I went for the previews, everything was on PlayStation, which is like everything there was PS5. I also got to meet the creator of the game with this interpreter. Which is the first time I've ever had that in person, where the person's talking and then you have the interpreter, it was very cool to see, because the person talking was still reacting to us speaking, like we're asking questions and then you're going through. But it was very cool to hear a different language, to be totally honest. It may sound weird, but I actually appreciated it. It was really cool to see it all in person. But we got to go through all that. We played it. The open world was pretty simple. There's a lot of things to collect in the open world. We didn't get any explanation about any of it. We were even told we're not getting any explanations for it. At a later date, we will get that. There is a skill tree. We didn't get any explanations about the skill tree as well. They would not let us press pause, so we could not go into the menu items. So like you would get experience and it'd tell you could level up. We were told not to press pause, so we didn't go in the menu. So obviously they didn't want us to go through the skill tree, but you do have special abilities and you are able to elementally change your armor set. They did let us do that. So we were able to go into the pause menu once, and then we were able to change your armor set. So then we have different attacks. You have your strong, you have your weak, you have your 3 separate attacks, but you also have team attacks. So your teammates will come in. If you're doing a special attack and you're getting a weak point, they can come in and do other things. There was a elemental damage where you could freeze time. One of the characters was able to freeze time. I found that to be really cool. The guy that looks like a cat, Mallory or Mari or
Meowry.
yeah, dude. So you say that, but that's literally what I was calling him. I'm not gonna lie. But it was very cool. I can't believe I liked the game. I played almost 2 hours of this demo. Like we
Do
were
we have a
given 2
release
hours
date?
to play. Sorry?
Do we have a release date?
No,
Okay.
this summer. That's all we know. We have no
Because I got
release
to say,
date.
like,
Yeah.
the game, I've never played a mana game, so this is like
I
probably going
think
to
you
be
will
my
like this game, Matt. This is definitely a Matt game.
graphically. It looks awesome. It almost looks like a Ghibli movie. Like it has a very
What is
cute
that?
art style to it, huh?
What's a Ghibli movie?
Like Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle,
Okay.
any of the classic.
We'll just move
Okay.
on.
That's as bad as me not watching Back to the Future, mind you. I'm going
No,
to
it
say
is not. I'm
Spirited
sorry.
Away.
No. I Spirited Away I've seen. Okay, that makes sense.
There we go. Okay.
Okay. Yes,
That
exact same
studio.
art style. Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're back on track. It looks cool. I've never played him on a mana game, so I'm excited to kind of check this out. And if you liked it, then maybe I will like it. But
I
I have to
also
say, like,
like it
I'm
for the
more
fact that I
curious.
think this could be my daughter's first foray into a big open world RPG.
Nice. Okay, I'm in.
So that's the way I look at it this way. My daughter is getting more she finished Princess Peach in a day. Like
At a girl.
she's getting into video games. She didn't ask me this. Princess Peach was the first one. Like she didn't ask for boss fights. She's really into the Pokemon games. So like she wants
Hmm.
Arceus. Like she's figured out open world concepts of games.
Hmm.
And I think this will be the first one where I'm like, honey, I think she would actually really enjoy this game. One, because of the party system. So like if you get hurt, your party member can revive you pretty easily.
Hmm.
I don't know if there was difficulty settings because we didn't get
Hmm.
to look at the
Hmm.
settings, but it wasn't hard. Whatever mode I was playing on, I didn't find it too challenging. The boss fights, pretty much, attack, evade.
Hmm.
Pretty simple boss fights, but really cool. Like very good set pieces and art pieces. I thought graphically it was very bright, but not in a bad way. It wasn't like
Yeah, yeah.
knock
It's
you out.
colorful.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the art direction was very well done, and I thought that everything was easy. Like on the map, you can see where you need to go.
Hmm.
You can I was told you can drop things like pins on the map to get to places, but there everything was there. And as soon as you went by something, it would make sure that it would automatically leave a marker saying this was where a coin was, this is where a chest was, and you could always go back. So I feel that it's a lot more simpler than a Final Fantasy game. I know they're in the same world. I just
Hmm.
think that it's a lot simpler, and I think this is something that I can let her play and
Okay.
see if she likes RPGs.
That's awesome, dude. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you went and checked it out. I'm very, very curious to hear more as we get closer to, because I have to say your preview piqued my interest. It was not on my radar until then, but I might be in for it.
It sold me, and I can't believe it. I walked away literally, and everybody was making fun of me for the rest of the people that I talked to that knew I was playing the game. They're like, "Oh, how'd you like your Final Fantasy game?" I was like, "I actually liked it. I can't believe I'm saying this right now." It was
There
good.
you go.
I didn't feel it was very button mashy either, even though the combat is
Good.
pretty much because you were using different attacks and different things and then switching between characters, so it was more interactive about your
Mhm.
team than just button mashing.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, dude. I'm sure we'll have more to come on Visions of Mana as we get closer to launch. Let's hop into some news, my friend, because we have a couple stories we're going to roll through here. And we're going to kick things off with a journey to the PlayStation blog, because we got our PlayStation Plus monthly essential games for April. We are getting Immortals of Avium, Minecraft Legends, and Skull the Hero Slayer. This is going to be available tomorrow, Tuesday, April 2nd, through the course of April. I think this is an okay month. I think Immortals of Avium, I think a lot of people will enjoy this game that probably didn't give it a shot because it was a new IP at a full price that I don't think really showed well. I played a bunch of this and I liked it. I think it's one of those things where if it's coming out at a time now where a lot of people will not have something brand new to play, so this might be a good moment for people to kind of hop in. Minecraft Legends, I'm not interested in whatsoever, and Skull, I don't know, not doesn't look like my speed either. But where are you at, Court?
I do find it interesting that we also got stuff from Overwatch too, so more Microsoft party being added to the PlayStation Plus.
Oh, Mega Bundle.
Wait, it's still hey, we got
Skins.
Minecraft
Yeah, yeah.
Legends. I reviewed Minecraft Legends. I liked it for what it was, but I didn't think it was anything special. My daughter's really into Minecraft right now. And I got her to even hop into that, and she was like, "Meh." Like she didn't it really didn't do anything much for her. And I think if you're not, that's the target audience for it. And if that's people aren't going to like it, then unfortunately for that game. But I think, it's a family game. You can play it with your kid. And then with Immortals of Avium, it didn't speak to me. I got a review copy of that game. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I also think at the time, I can't remember, something else came out like right after that.
There was something else that
The
hit
Last of Us,
within a
was it The
couple of
Last of Us
weeks.
Part 1? Something like that. Like we got it, and I was only able to play it for like 2 weeks, and then I'm like, I'm out on this game. And I started playing the next game because I didn't really, and I never went back to Immortals. So I was like, meh. But for a game that comes with the service, it's worth jumping in. I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head of just saying it's something you can go through and just whatever. You like it, but whatever. You can mindlessly play this game. I think that they've done a great job over the past couple months of giving more value towards the service. And I think we've gotten very good games over the last little bit, and this is just whatever.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad month. I think that there's something here for people who are looking for it. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, this was more Immortals of Avium turned into that game where we have those people on social media that champion games that are just meh a lot.
I do think like the combat's fun, and I do think that there's something to that game. I don't think it entirely landed.
The story made no sense.
The story was okay. Let's stay on the Minecraft train. It was all right. I think that game was like a solid 6 out of 10.
All right, fine. I'll give you that.
Coming from VGC, written by Andy Robinson, Minecraft is reportedly getting a native PS5 version. Currently, the game is only playable via PS4 backwards compatibility. That's according to PlayStation Game Size, the social media account that regularly reveals games early by trawling the back end of Sony's console store. Currently, only the PS4 version of Minecraft is playable on PS5s via backwards compatibility. The Xbox version was recently updated to support 4K, though users have long been awaiting an optimized current-gen version. Court, this does nothing for me, but
yeah, I didn't know. So I put this here more of like, I didn't know this wasn't a PS5 version. My daughter plays this game daily, but she plays it on Game Pass.
Fair.
As someone that has seen the game, I didn't know it needed a 4K version. I didn't think it was going to make a difference, but
dude, some of those flow-ups are ridiculous.
This is one of the biggest games in the world. Like all my daughter's friends play it. This and Roblox. That's all they play is Minecraft and Roblox. Oh, and Pokemon. So Roblox, whatever game we think is a big deal, the younger generation couldn't care less. But I think it's going to sell. I really do think it will sell. It'll just sell more copies. And once again, another Microsoft game on PlayStation.
This to me feels more for just like the folks that already own it and just want the thing. I feel like Minecraft has just been selling ridiculously for so long now that I don't know if a PS5 optimized version would push the needle. I'm sure anybody who owns it on PS4 probably already owns it. You know what I mean? Unless there's going to be a sale or something. But
I don't disagree with you.
It's good. It's awesome to see that they're continuing.
I wonder if Microsoft will do like a $10 upgrade from the PS4 version to. I doubt they will, but
I think it'll be free.
Really? Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I think it'll just be an update. Like here's the thing. Like if they didn't charge on Xbox, I can't.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's the whole part of their backwards compatibility.
I know, but that was the thing with Minecraft has been for a long time that they want people to access it wherever they want to play it. Like given that it is primarily a game for kids and it has all that extra learning features and everything else, I'd be shocked if they would put in a roadblock for a PS5 update now.
Roblox. You know what I mean? You almost said Roblox. You just don't even know what you did there. Like some 7-year-old right now is like, he almost said it.
Roblox. Let's hop into our next story, coming once again from VGC, because Jim Ryan on his way out. Written by Jim Midler, says PS5 is well on track to be Sony's most successful console ever. I'd say right now we're at the top of our game. An interview with
but Matt, what does his cat think?
Eh?
What does his cat think? Does his cat think it's going to be the most successful console ever?
His cat?
You don't remember the email? Oh my God. It's been so long since we've been doing PlayStation podcasts, Matt. Jesus. He sent out the email to everybody about his cat. Forget it. Just move on.
I genuinely just think I missed this. In an interview on the official PlayStation podcast to mark his retirement, Ryan was asked about his thoughts on PlayStation's position in the games market going forward. I'd say right now we're at the top of our game. We've been really clear and really consistent about what we stand for: great consoles, great console gaming experience, and great games. I'd say that right now we're at the top of our game. PS5 is well on track to be our most successful console ever across multiple vectors. And I think the gaming experiences you see on PS5, led by PlayStation Studios, are the best we've ever seen. Is he right, Court?
Well, his part about led by PlayStation Studios, I do think that this generation, we haven't had as many PlayStation Studios exclusive games as we
Mhm.
would have in previous generations. I think the console, yes, is done gangbusters. I do think a lot of it had a lot of help actually came from the pandemic. Many people were home. I know so many people that are back into video gaming that they, they couldn't have cared
Mhm.
less, but because of the pandemic, they were home. I think a lot of industries got destroyed by the pandemic. The video game industry got artificially inflated by it, unfortunately, and now we're seeing the repercussions of that and people losing their jobs.
Mhm.
But and it's coming back to where it was. Yes, it's going to be a very successful console, but on the backs of PlayStation Studios, I just can't go there when I don't. We've had a lot of remakes. We haven't had a lot of first party bangers. We haven't. We really haven't.
We haven't. And I think that right now, what's carried it, especially in the first few years, was the lack of supply. So people were buying it if they could find it for a lot of folks. I don't think we've had the hits that we did, at least with the PS4 era, in terms of the
Like,
first
how many
party, at least
system
with the
sellers do you
consistent.
think we've had besides Spider-Man
I have to really think about it
that
at
are
this point.
PS5 exclusive?
Yeah, and PlayStation Studios. Like we've had a lot of cross-gen stuff still, like Ragnarok, Forbidden West, like a lot of the big ones were cross-gen. So I think I'm assuming that we have at least probably another 3 to 4 years left in this generation before we switch over to what will be the inevitable PS6. I think they're going to have to really turn things up. We already know it's not going to be this year. They've made that clear. 2025 onward is they're really going to have hit after hit after hit, because the PS2, if we're talking about console sales, the PS2 was at like 150 million lifetime. The PS5, can it get there over the course of the next decade? Maybe.
Heck,
But
the
like,
PS3 would have killed if they didn't do what they did at the beginning. That thing
and
would have
the
destroyed people.
And the PS4 again was ridiculously successful. That thing sold a ton of units. So
And it
I
had huge first party games.
what I'm worried about is we're starting to see that PS3 era Sony, that PS3 era PlayStation, where I'm hoping they're not letting the success, because they are leading this generation by a wide margin. They're over 2-1 when you're comparing to Xbox. So Switch is still off in its corner doing
I would
its
say
own
it's
thing.
3-1 at this point.
It could be approaching that point.
Their
So I
Xbox's
feel
pivot tells me that it's bad.
like they need to start doing more, because they've done a bunch that just, like, the Portal's great. PSVR 2 is great, but like the PSVR 2 has no more support right now. Nothing's happening for it.
I don't wanna
There's
talk about it.
the games that like we're getting from PlayStation Studios are just nowhere to be seen right now. And obviously, like, that is not inherently PlayStation's fault. That was a global landscape where everything got screwed sideways. There's a lot that happened that shifted stuff. But I do think part of that is PlayStation's fault, going way too far and way too hard in on live service. If The Last of Us had just put out a multiplayer mode 2, we probably would be playing The Last of Us 3 or whatever it would be, a new IP from Naughty Dog right now. If the team that was working on Factions was devoted elsewhere. Like, I feel like there's a lot in the back end that we probably don't know and we'll never know about. They went too hard too fast, and I feel like now is when they need to pivot out. Does the PS5 stand a chance to continue to be as successful as it's been over the course of the next 4 years? Yes, but I think 2025 will be the make or break year for it, whether it's going to peak and continue to rise, or whether it's going to peak and then continue to fall after that.
Well, the only thing I will say is next year we probably have a new Nintendo console, so that's not gonna help. Even though people will say it's a different market, but people are gonna put their money where they're gonna put their money. We are
100%.
in a recession right now, so when during the pandemic, people were willing to spend money because we were at home, it is a
Mhm.
little different. I think we've seen it with the Apple Vision Pros. Those didn't sell out as crazily as quickly as they did. They sold out, but, like, you can now go to
Sure,
an
but
Apple
that
store
was
in
all
the US to
in
I'm just
yeah,
saying it's very expensive thing. I'm just people
yeah.
aren't willing to throw the money down like they did. I
Mhm.
think what's gonna be a very good measure of this is the rumored, and I'm just gonna call it for that for now, the rumored PS5 Pro. We'll see how well that does. And because we never got to see what the like, they'll never tell us what the PS4 Pro did. But if people are still willing to do this upgrade and invest into consoles, I think it's the Apple marketing. Apple's created this, right? Where you can change every year and you get this new thing and you want to do it.
Mhm.
Sure, but if they don't have the games, like they need more than Wolverine.
I think what we need to see from them is like the problem is that like I don't think we've hit the capacity for what the PS5 can do. I think the PS4, the PS2, PS4 Pro, for me, the biggest selling feature was that the VR was going to be a better experience on Pro than it was on base. That was what brought me to the Pro. And of course, you and I are diehards. We're going to be picking up
4K
and doing
brought
it.
me 4K. I was in.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, there's enough there, but I just don't think for a lot of people, the PS5 has hit its limits yet, showing the need for the PS5 Pro. And like if we're in a world, let's say a year from now, and I really hope that this will not be the case, and I would be shocked if it was, but a game coming out, a PlayStation Studios game coming out across PS4, PS5, and PS5 Pro,
It
there
better
is
not.
no use case. There's no case where a game on PS4 to PS5 Pro, like that's a wide gap. So
And
I
I
feel like
can't believe I'm going to say this. I think we've got to stop with these PS4 games. Like it's just
I think we are.
done.
I think we are. I think that's done. But they gotta show people why the power of the PS5 and the theoretical PS5 Pro is going to be
I think it'll just be
important.
the 4K 60. That's what you're going to get on a Pro, and then you're going to get
Probably,
4K 30 on the PS4, PS5.
probably. We will keep you posted about that and more. But let's talk about one more quick story here before we get into questions, because we have a question about this, and I want to talk about it because we didn't last week. Here's our first look at Marvel 1943: Rise of Hydra. This is coming from Console Creatures ourselves. We got a reveal trailer a couple weeks back from Skydance New Media for Amy Hennig's new game, Marvel 1943: Rise of Hydra, starring, of course, Black Panther, Cap, and a Allied soldier and a Wakandan spy. This is set in obviously 1943 in Paris. Big time for Paris and Marvel games. We got Blade in Paris. We got this in Paris. We got a cinematic for it. Parts of
Think
it
it was
did
just
look like.
easier to the assets.
No, I doubt it. those studios are not sharing anything. I'm incredibly excited for this. I love that it's something new in the Marvel universe. I like its characters in Cap and Black Panther that we know, yes, but this is an incredibly different thing. Amy Hennig, I'm really, really excited to see what she's going to. We haven't seen anything from her in quite a long time, so I'm
I
excited to see
still
her
wish
let
we got our
loose
Star
in the
Wars
Marvel
game that we
universe.
never got.
100%. But I am incredibly, incredibly in on this, and I think like if these graphics end up looking even anywhere close to as good as they do in this trailer, my God, the facial animation and especially that one part on the bridge towards the back half of the trailer, I genuinely thought I was looking at a movie at points. Like it's staggeringly beautiful. So I'm stoked on this.
I am as well. One, Amy Henning, so I know that the story is going to be on point. And two, Amy Henning, I think we're going to get those huge um, action-packed set pieces. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of great potential for this, especially, the timepiece. They can do a lot with it. And it looks great. I'm right with you on the facial animation. So I'm my guess here, and this is just my guess. We're going to use both Cap and Black Panther. Black Panther will be our stealth, and Cap will be our, beat 'em up.
Yeah, we know
Cap,
this for. Yeah, we know the all four characters are going to be playable.
yeah, but I think you're gonna have your different types of missions, right?
Yeah,
Like
100. I think yeah,
I
you're
think
spot
that's
on.
how Amy Hennig's gonna do her mission structure on this. I think
Yeah,
we're gonna get a Marvel Uncharted game, and I am here for it.
me too, dude. I am stoked. Let's bring in the question about this because Josh O'Neill at Real Deal J O'Neill writes in saying, "Sup guys, we have two Marvel games on the horizon with Marvel 1943 and Marvel Rivals as the last live service game that didn't. Are we sorry? Marvel 1943 looks amazing, but I wonder about Marvel Rivals as the last live service game didn't last. Do you think that they should stay with narrative titles or working at making a good live service game? Thanks, guys." So we didn't talk about Marvel Rivals, but it's basically
Because it's a
Overwatch.
Steam game, it's not on PlayStation.
I'm sure it'll be coming to console. I have no doubt in my
Well,
mind that it
as
will
of
be.
right now, it has not been announced for it, so that's why
Yeah,
I didn't put it in there.
it's Overwatch, but Marvel, like to a T. The UI, the graphics, the even the environmental design.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
there's a frame by frame video. I guess someone did of Overwatch 2 to this trailer, and it was just like, "Geesh, it's the
yeah.
same game with Marvel characters."
In terms of what they should do, I feel like Marvel right now understands the money that can be made in video games. And I feel like there was a long while where we got no Marvel video games. And what I think the difference here could be, Marvel's Avengers felt like a story game that was pivoted into live service. Marvel Rivals feels like it's built for live service from the get-go. And I think that could be the major factor. A lot of people loved Overwatch. I loved Overwatch 1. I played a ton of it. It fell off hard. Overwatch 2 is a dumpster fire. There's nothing else like it right now. Marvel Rivals is positioned that it could fill that niche very well, assuming that the microtransactions aren't absolutely abysmal. But with NetEase, they probably will be. I feel like there's space for both of these. I feel like there's like 1943 looks amazing, and that doesn't take away from Rivals. Those are two completely different studios, two completely different teams working on it. I think I would be all in on a Marvel multiplayer game. I would 100% be there. I think Avengers was caught between two places. I think there's potential for both of these things to be good. And I think there's space for both of these things because, the more a Marvel Rivals will be successful, I would hope would also mean that there's more money being invested in a 1943. You know what I mean? I feel like there's space for both of these things. But what do you think, Court?
I'm more on the story driven. I look at a lot of these live service games and I say like, what piece of the pie are they taking? There's only so much people can play. I tried Overwatch. I couldn't get into it. I'll try this Marvel game, but usually the hero shooter doesn't speak to me. But that's not necessarily I think it doesn't. But if I had to pick between the two and I only had to pick one game right now, I'm going to take 1943 all day long. Like it's a story
100%.
driven action game that I know is going to have phenomenal story written by it's just I don't know, man. For me, I couldn't care less about I watched the trailer and I was over it. And I also feel what I saw on the internet that day, it was like people talked about it for a good hot minute and then that was it.
Yeah, because we don't know that's all we saw, right? So like I'm
But
curious.
1943 had a couple days where
It
people
did.
talked about it.
1943 looks amazing, and the pedigree there. I think people are rightfully wary when it comes to Rivals, given that it's NetEase. I would be shocked if that doesn't come to console. Like that to me, the beta is PC only, but there's so much money.
Hey, look
left
at
on the table.
Helldivers. Helldivers over 60%. There's an article in there. We're not going to talk about it. Over 60% of the player base is on PC.
Yep. But again, that's still almost half that are playing on consoles. And especially when they're doing a free to play game and they want people spending money, no doubt in my mind it's going to hit consoles. But I'm with you. I would rather them more story focused stuff. I do think that if it's a built from the ground up multiplayer game, I'm willing to give it a chance. We'll see how that ends up going. And I think because Overwatch also incredibly shot itself in the foot, there's space for this to kind of come in at the right time. Savoy Prime writes in saying, hello, hey fellas, with Jim Ryan's run at PlayStation being done today, where does the company go from here? I genuinely don't know.
See, I think we kind of touched on it because I think this generation for the PS5, they almost went back to the PS3 generation where they were resting on their laurels and pretty much were like, we're PlayStation. Fortunately for them, I think Xbox made a lot of missteps. They did a lot of great job with regards to their messaging, and it's just their games didn't hit. And that worked out for PlayStation. I think if Starfield and all these other games like Redfall were big hits, PlayStation would be in a lot of trouble because the Steam would have went the other way. And it would have been like people were like, look how what Xbox is doing instead of like, look what Xbox is doing. So I think they actually got lucky this generation. I would love to see end of PS3, start of PS4, PlayStation back, about community, having community events, having the PlayStation event again, and people going to go to that and having, all these games everybody can play together. I want that back. I want the community aspect back of PlayStation, and we'll see if we get it. I think the way the whole industry has changed in general, I don't think we're ever going to see that kind of stuff again. I think it's going to be more of like, let's turn out as much as we can. If it hits, it hits. It doesn't, it doesn't.
And I think you might be onto something. I'm pulling in an article here from Push Square because the new CEO Hiroki Totoki, I was curious about we know he's been at PlayStation at Sony for a very long time. He's been there for
I love his
30
name,
years
by the way,
or something.
Hiroki Totoki. It's like rolls off the tongue so well.
He's a chief operating officer and also the president of Sony Group. Evidently, and this is the part that I kind of wanted to think, Totoki joined back in 1987, went up the ladder. His particular skill set is the financial and restructuring end of things, having contributed to the launch of Sony Bank as well as the CFO of Sony Networks. He describes himself as being obsessed with growth. So that makes me nervous. If we have somebody who doesn't completely understand what PlayStation is and why it's important, and all they're seeing are the dollar signs on things like live service, I'm hoping that the last couple of years of Jim Ryan's reign with the overinvestment in on live service, I'm hopeful that Totoki would look at that and be like, okay, this obviously wasn't working. Let's try and see what else we can do. But I think we'll see how this plays out. I don't want to be negative because I don't know anything about the man and I don't know how he's going to run things. But
Can we
given his
just bring
pedigree,
Shuhei back and just make him in charge of it,
for
everything, and
real,
just
for real.
see? That's
Just,
what I want back. That's what I want.
yeah.
Community.
I'm nervous that they're going to go too far in on the money side, and we're going to see that. I think I'm nervous we'll see PlayStation get slapped back the way that they did back in the PS3 era, but time will tell. Lionheart Ash writes in at Lionheart Ash 1 saying, "Hey Legends, what are your top 5 gaming plots of all time?" And he also says, "Does he get points for not mentioning BioShock this week?" Yeah, buddy, I'm proud of you. What are some of your favorite gaming stories?
So like, sorry, I'm not gonna lie. I got a message from my boss, and I was reading it. What was the question again?
Gaming stories. What are some of your favorite gaming stories? So for me, like Last of Us is an easy one, both
Oh yeah,
across
Last of Us
part one
Part
and part
One,
two.
especially what it's done to me over the generation of my life. It's gone from being this to this to this to this, and it's impacted me more. So that's great. I will say BioShock. I think
Mhm.
the original BioShock, the story of everything in the world there is unbelievable. I think they did a phenomenal job of telling a story and bringing you through it. And I do like Infamous as well. I really like the Good versus Evil of Cole McGrath. I think that was phenomenal. And then Ghost of Tsushima, I think is one of the best story-driven narrative games that I played in a really long time. Like
I
really
have
long
to
time.
I have to give it to the first God of War too. Like the 2018 God of War, because I
No,
think they did a lot to reinvent that character and kind of reinvent that world. Persona 4 Golden for me, like there were moments where I literally had to put that game down because I was so invested in the story and characters, and I was freaking out that I had to literally stop playing it for a sec just to be like, I have to calm down here for a second and figure out what it is that I want to do. I love the first Spider-Man. I think the way that they kind of play with your expectations, the events at City Hall, there's so much there that is just unreal. Y'all are forgetting Bug Snacks, Steve in the chat. Bug Snacks,
no.
legitimately fantastic story. No, that story is
I didn't
messed
like
the
that
hell up.
game at all. I didn't like it at all. Sorry. Didn't like it at all.
I loved it. It's whack. It's whack as hell, but that game is awesome. Other gaming stories.
Well,
I'm trying to
this
think of what
sounds
else.
weird, but I like the story of Castlevania, even though it's not a PlayStation. Well, there was PlayStation versions of it. I really like the story of the Belmont family. I wish that someone did it better, and opened up a lot of these games from the past. Dragon Age, I usually always like. Mass Effect, I liked until I didn't like. Um,
Disco Elysium for me, the
oh,
Yakuza's
hold on, Matt. That's a very good game. I like that game.
Disco Elysium,
Oh,
incredible
and
story.
Walking Dead, the very first one, very
Yeah,
good with Clem,
Yakuza
very good.
Zero, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, all of those, incredible. Spiritfarer, Celeste. There are so many like incredible. Before Their Eyes is like heart wrenching.
Horizon, I think, is close to being a good story, but I feel it gets cluttered a little bit. Assassin's Creed, the original, the Assassin's Creed 2, and the whole Animus, and then they just jumped the shark. I think that was really cool, and then they just I don't know what they did with it, but
They went too
it
far too fast.
was cool. It was cool. It was
Yeah,
very good. It's just like BioShock. I really like the first one. I thought the second one was meh, but the DLC Minerva's Den was amazing. It's like some hit, some don't. I think we are spoiled in how many great video game stories are out there to play,
hmm
and some very good ones. Even like for me, Bug Snacks, you guys love. It still got lost in the shuffle for me. Artful Escape still to this day is one of the best games I've played in the last 5 years, and so is Psychonauts 2. I think both really good stories because they had more meaning than people realize than what they're
yeah.
playing.
I need to give it to the Trail series too for like plotting out a massive geographical Game of Thrones level like political intrigue, but also just being an awesome RPG. The Cold Steel series, Azure, incredible stuff. The way that it picks off from zero. There's so many good stories nowadays. So many. And I'm gonna
We're
give it to Final
spoiled.
Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth too. RDR two, yeah. That's another Steve in the chat again.
Al
RDR
hey,
two,
for
easy one.
all I did was play the demo of Alan Wake 2, and I was like, "Oh my," because I loved Control. Control I thought was masterful. Alan Wake 2, it's 20% off right now. It hasn't got to that, like, $50 range for me yet. Just gotta get there. I have $50 in credits. I'm just waiting to get that game because I played the demo and did not wanna stop, and I'm like, "I am not spending $100 on a video game right now. It's just not happening," but
But you should.
I know.
Jake Steinberg at Jake Knows It writes in saying, hello, PlayStation generation. DC Universe Online recently launched their PS5 client of the game. Logged in and got that plat immediately.
I saw
Will
that.
either of you be checking it out, especially since the launch of the season 1 of Suicide Squad is more or less a flop?
I haven't played that game in forever, and I liked it. I think it was beginning at PS4 when I first started playing it. Yeah, PS4 is when I first started playing DC Universe Online. I
think
doubt
played
it because
like,
I already have MLB The Show. I've still been going back and forth on Division every now and then, getting all the new content on that. I don't think I have time for another one of those games.
yeah, I barely spent any time with it. Like I remember playing it a bit on like the PS3, maybe.
The beginning of PS4 is where I played it.
Yeah, like I'm awesome that it's here for folks, but for me, the MMO that's sitting in the back of my mind that I probably will hop into over the course of the next few months is Final Fantasy 14. I played like the first few. I played the base game and the first couple expansions, and I want to go back before Dawn Trail hits. Not Dawn Trail. Dawn Trail. Dawn Trail. The next expansion hits this summer. I want to catch up.
Don't even know.
So as much as DC Universe Online looks cool, Final Fantasy 14 is where my time is going to go.
Wait, you don't want to play Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League? It's like
not
free right now to buy. It's like $40.
No.
That's
No,
like,
I'm good.
imagine that in US. So it's like $25 in the US to buy right now.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Our final question comes from Ed Varnell at Boss Rush Network at that retro code, coming in saying, would you want to see PlayStation become the RPG system like it was for PS2? Or do you think the Switch has that genre covered in the best way for gamers? What do you think the PlayStation does better than when you hear about a genre they're the ones to go with?
I think PlayStation has better first-person story games and in third-person view than any other console out there. I think the Switch, unfortunately, is held back by its graphical capabilities and even its size of game capability. And it's really cool for Pokemon games and some Mario games and such, but I think the PlayStation trounces it with regards to RPGs and story games. Like, it just trounces it.
Yeah, I think you're right that like PlayStation is synonymous, especially PlayStation Studios is synonymous with, heavy narrative, action games, and rightfully so. They're all fantastic. I think the PlayStation is a fantastic RPG system. I think when in terms of console, I think it's the best way to go. I think if you're talking handheld, I still think the Steam Deck has a Switch beat. I think in terms of the amount of stuff there, I think that a lot of the Switch RPGs are also available elsewhere. The biggest factor for it is the handheld and portability. I love playing a lot of RPGs and especially the turn-based stuff on the go. I like having that just in my hands because that's what I think of when I think of Fire Emblem, when I think of Final Fantasy Tactics. It was on my Game Boy, it was on my SP. So I think if PlayStation were to come back with a proper handheld that wasn't, the Portal, I think it has the crown and I think it will continue to do so. I think a lot of the RPGs, and not even just JRPGs, even the Western RPGs, like your Horizons and your Ghost of Tsushimas as well, because those are action RPGs. PlayStation has the crown. Nintendo doesn't put a lot of first-party focus on RPGs. They have some great third-party stuff, but they don't have a lot of first-party focus. They have the portability stuff right now because that's the only place that you have been able for the last number of years to play an RPG on the go. The Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and all that stuff have taken that away.
And besides Pokemon and Fire Emblem, every other RPG is available on console. Am I wrong?
And like you can play those on the Steam Deck too. I'm sorry, but like you can't.
Dude, you pretty much almost sold me on the Steam Deck, but I'm still
those pathways exist. So for me, it's like I think Xbox realized their mistake. I think they're in the last couple of years have been vying for that RPG a lot more. I think PlayStation consoles own the RPG, and I think that over the course of the next, I feel like the more the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally kind of take place, I think they're going to take that from Nintendo too. It's like if I'm playing an RPG, I'd rather play on my Steam Deck than on my Switch. Personally, performance is better, whatever. Switch 2, we'll see. But great question, Ed. That brings us to the end of the show, my friend. Thank you for hanging with me for our second ever episode of PlayStation Generation. If people wanted to see and hear more from you, Court, where could they do so?
You can find me every 8 p.m. every Wednesday evening on 3 Dads in a Console, or you can find me on all social media platforms at Court Lalonde.
Hit me up at Matt_SilverSoul on X and all of the other platforms. Stay tuned and locked here to consolecreatures.com. Please like the show, favorite it, toss us those 5 stars. We appreciate all of you so very much, and we will be back next week. Peace.